Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? It's a cold day today. I think it's 2 degrees. So I've got a late start because I've got a shingles jab. Which reminded me, I'm going to tell you, I diagnosed someone with shingles the other day. Not that I'm allowed to, what am I? I'm just a humble tooth doctor. Not really, expected to know everything about medicine for the purposes of appreciating the medical history of my patients, but not expected to know anything about anything. I had this woman in, and she got a painful jaw and neck. She thought it might be something to do with a tooth draining down her lymph nodes, etc., etc. So we had a look and couldn't find anything dental. So just as she stood up to go out, I said, "Do you mind if I just have a quick look at your neck?" So she's like, "Okay." So she had what is, I presume, is a fairly typical, not overtly chicken pox, but some sort of macular rash, papilla, whatever it's called, and was typically quite painful. When you touch it gently, it's painful. So I said to her, "I think you've got shingles." I said, "Have you had the vaccine?" And she's like, "No, very much no. I'm not a big fan of the vaccine. I'm not going to have the vaccine. I don't want the vaccine." So anyway, she came in and she confirmed that she'd been to her GP and they've told her that it was shingles. So she was quite pleased that we diagnosed it, for her. She's quite happy that went away with the right diagnosis. She's still not had the vaccine. So, and I've told her on 2 occasions, you don't really want shingles. Where you've had it is actually probably you're all right. All you've had is like a really, really painful rash for a couple of weeks. I told her, if you get it around your chest or you get it in your optic nerve or something, you're going to be in real trouble. You'll have your eyeball taped up. But, she's very much one of these, no, I don't take vaccines. And so let life do its worst, which is so dumb, isn't it, really? I mean, 2 years ago, I was not on anything. Now I've turned 65. I'm on pneumonia jabs, flu jabs, shingles jabs, and I'm on 5 tablets for pre-diabetes, high blood pressure, and cholesterol. So, and I regard myself as someone who thinks that they're fairly healthy. My pancreas hadn't given up. I wouldn't be on any of those things. So I still think I'm pretty healthy. I feel healthy. Yesterday I felt healthier than I felt since Saturday, which is the day I went out and did all the logging. This is this 20-mile-an-hour zone that's had to be, where the speeds had to be aggressively brought down to 20 miles an hour because of, look, as you can see, it's possible to race through Wingham High Street at 70 miles an hour. So thank God for the speed limit. That's what I say. And all the pearl clutchers and the do-gooders who stand out in the freezing rain clutching their speed traps. So, yeah, so she's not going to get vaccinated. So, and it doesn't matter. What people do is, I think they say, look, okay, I'm not going to take the vaccines because I don't like the vaccines, but at the end of the day, I might get shingles. Might get it in my ribs, might get it in my jaw, might get it in my eye. But that's the downside of it. That's on the negative side of the equation. But on the positive side, I'll miss out on a bunch of jabs. Which is, she's a Russian lady, very nice, very elegant, charming. Used to be translator for the United Nations and various other bodies. but has her own ideas, So I think I personally do find that I have problems treating Eastern Europeans. And by problems, I mean just, I don't know whether you call them ethnic differences, but differences in personality, and approach. Like I've got another Russian lady who's, she's had a lot of root fillings. And that's something I found. Something I found with, particularly with Romanians. They come in, they're 22, and they've got 12 root fillings. Now, I used to put this down to them just getting paid to do root fillings and, the particular method of feed for item that they use. He's having to back in. Stupid. Bringing these lorries down this time in the morning. I don't know what they think they're doing. Look at this traffic. See the traffic is jamming his course. So what I found is that she's got a ton of root fillings, and they're all done appallingly. And now she's got 2 more, I think. Upper right 3 and 4. She came in with a lump over the top of the 3. But there are these things that are just atypical, which are, she came in. She announced that she didn't have time to have a checkup, but she did have time to have antibiotics. So that's what she wanted, antibiotics. So she came in, sure enough, she's got a lump. We gave her antibiotics. She's coming back. At which point we're going to charge her for a checkup, and then a root filling. But I'm not sure whether the root filling is the 3 or the 4, because the 4 is restored, and so there's a possibility it could be the 4, whereas the 3 is unfilled, and so it's not likely it's going to be the 3. But having said that, we sent her up the QE hospital for a OPG, and it's come back and shows that it's possible apical bone loss over the 3 and the 4. Now, potential apical bone loss over a canine, which is completely unfilled, and on an OPG in particular, I would take with a heavy pinch of salt. The 4, I mean, it was pretty much over the apex of the 3. So if I had to diagnose it without an X-ray, I would have put the 3 in the frame, but it's more likely to be the 4. And so what I've done is I've told her, well, subject to some further tests, she needs a root filling. She might need 2 root fillings if they've both gone. If they've both gone, I don't know why, because the 3's gone in particular, because it may be just this Eastern European self-destructing tooth disease that they've got. But they're both reasonably easy to restore. She's sent me back an email, and I'm not joking, it must be 500 words at least, asking questions of absolutely every aspect. I mean, I sent her a report on the OPG and told her that I recommend she has a root filling subject to further tests. That's what it was. That's why I've managed to sum that up, haven't I? In one sentence. She's now generated 25 questions out of that. And so how do you respond? The first thing you think of is possibly just sitting down, and licking your pencil and answering every question, writing a response. Well, I think the best thing to do is just to say, And the other thing she's asked me to do is to do any root treatment. Can I do it over 2 visits? Because she's had problems in the past with where root treatments have been done over 1 visit. Now, all the research shows that there's no point doing root treatments over 2 visits. If you open them up, put some antiseptic inside there, then and then do the root filling when you've so-called sort of sterilised the root. There's no advantage to sterilising the root. You might as well just open it up, clean it out with hypochlorite, and fill it up, and Bob's your uncle. But what do you do when the patient says, "No, I've had it done this way in the past and it's always failed"? Then all you're doing is you're letting yourself in for a load of grief, aren't you? When you do it your way, against the wishes of the patient, and then the patient then rings up and say, "No, I've had a lot of pain from that. Because I told you not to do it that way, and I didn't want it done that way." And so how do you react to that, right? What's the best way to react to that? Well, first of all, in response to the letter, I'm not going to spend a lot of time replying to it, because I think you can join together a lot of the queries. It's a simple problem. You can ask a lot of questions about a simple problem, but they can have usually a simple answer. So I'm dropping a parcel off, by the way, in case you're wondering where on earth I'm off to. So I shall just reply to her email by saying that we've taken all her concerns into account, and that we'll make a decision about whether to do it over 1 or 2 visits when she comes in. And it'll be a clinical decision, and it'll be made by me. I won't put that in the letter, but the problem is, of course, is that you put aside, I don't know, an hour or an hour and 15 minutes to do the root filling, and then you then decide on the spur of the moment that you're just going to open the tooth up and put some cresofine inside it, and then what do you do for the other 45 minutes? She's done the time, hasn't she? She's wasted. Staff wages and everything are already then allocated for that time, and the running cost for the surgery, and the surgery's empty. So you do have to try and work out what you're going to do in advance. It's this problem where you have to decide what resources you're going to allocate in advance of the patient coming in, and you being definitively sure what needs doing. Now, there's a couple of different ways we could go with this. I could say to her, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it over 2 visits," but obviously you do realise that'll double the cost. Oh dear. Someone's done a wing mirror. So, and then while we're talking about cost, I mean, I think that could be the problem, couldn't it? Here we are, long distance. That's where we drop the parcels off. Right, remind me to talk about cost when I come back. Won't be long. When people ask if they can have things done over 2 visits, it usually means, can you split it over 2 months? In other words, can you split it over 2 pay what's-its? Something funny going on there. Oh, here we are. Smashed up wind mirror. Poor lady. So you have to be careful, because when you're letting people dictate your clinical pattern of treatment on the grounds of cost. Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, really. I mean, and to qualify that, I would say that as far as possible, you should go take steps to make sure that you organise your clinical treatment in a way that is easiest for the patient to be able to afford it. But splitting the treatment would normally take one visit over 2 visits on the grounds of cost is about as far as I'll go. It's probably a bit further than I'll go, to be honest with you. If it should be done over one visit, it should be done over one visit. And then if it, like, for example, if someone says to you, can you do the crown now and can I pay you in a couple of months' time, then that's obviously a definite no. All I do is I just say to them, like, don't worry, I'll keep the tooth going until such time as you've got the money, and then we can do it and you can pay for it at the same time. Sometimes that's not very well received because patients know that they're unlikely to get the money. Therefore, there's no point suggesting that to them because they were rather hoping that you would do the work, and then they would then tell you that they're going to have to pay you. They can't pay you, or they're going to have to pay you over the next 10 years or something. The other thing, of course, is that patients who micromanage their treatment. My favourite type of patient, telling me she wants it done this way, she wants it done that way. So I'm just going to write her a simple reply and say, look, we'll sort it out, but that it will increase the cost if we do it over 2 visits. It will increase the cost, and then because she's obviously trying to deal with the cost, it's something that she's not going to. Nobody who says, like, can you split the treatment over 2 visits because of the cost? He wants to get a reply back saying, yeah, but that'll increase the cost. Right, well, that was painful. What do you do if you have a painful injection? Would you tell the person to say, fuck me, that hurt? Or what do you do? I mean, if somebody is doing painful injections and nobody ever tells them, how do they ever change their technique? How do they get any better? These must be all the new, well, they filled in the potholes. Hey. I mean, if I was doing painful injections, I would prefer to get some feedback, I suppose. Unless it's, I mean, what can you do? You take a typically painful injection, like in the palate, and then you think to yourself, well, by its very nature, it's a scorpion sting, isn't it? It's not, you're not injecting into enough soft tissue, really. How can you make it any better? I've already used topical. I've already got one of these electrical injectors that does it really slowly, drop at a time. So if someone then said, that was really painful, I don't know what else I could do, but I suppose I could, I would still be at the top of my mind in terms of thinking of potentially ways to make it more comfortable, or doing without it altogether, or whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to get shingles, apparently. You don't know these days, do you? I mean, I know I'm pretty confident I'm not going to get shingles, but I mean, I presume this is an attenuated shingles virus of what I would think of as the old-fashioned type. I'm not going to be genetically engineered. Whereas with these newer, the newer vaccines, they're more mucking about with your DNA, aren't they? So no, the only thing I was going to mention is that I've always said I don't do these video logs for views. I'm not thinking of I'm never going to make any money on YouTube, for example, by being popular. This channel is far too vertically challenged in terms of it's a vertical market, so it would be too much of a challenge to get anything approaching monetization on it. But it's more of a video diary, for me and for possibly for people in the future who want to know what people are thinking about on on the grander economic stage at the time. She probably won't be interesting for 50 years, and then perhaps I'll pick it up in 100 years' time and decide that it's worthy of some historical, just man on the Clapham omnibus type commentary. But doing all the post processing and putting it all on YouTube is I will admit is a bit of a vanity project, especially considering the numbers. I mean, it's it would be unheard of for me to get more than 100 views on YouTube, and so you then have to say, well, what's the market for that? Now, I mean, there are two guys in a channel called Crack the Cryptic, and then every week or so they play this game called Blueprints, and they, quite commonly get 10,000 people or 12,000 people watching them. That's because they're the best at what they do. They do the Times crossword every day, solve the Times crossword, and they do a lot of Sudoku solving and stuff like that. So, and it's always nice, back to when I was watching Call of Duty 2, to watch the content creators who were really, really good at what they did, And these guys, when they're doing Sudokus, they're like, I'm like, I couldn't do that. Well, it tends to be more fall into the thing of I could do that, but if I'm not prepared to put the hours and the years in to get to that level of expertise. And it's the same with chess. I always thought if I, studied more, spent more time studying chess, then I could be a player. It then became apparent that chess is largely a game of memorization. It's not just a game of quick thinking. Being a member of Mensa, I can more or less guarantee that I'll be able to keep up with most people in the quick thinking stakes. But chess is not just about quick thinking until you get to the middle and late stages. In fact, I was just saying the middle stages, late, early and middle, because in the early stages it's all theory. You know exactly what pieces to move, and so does your opponent. So the whole thing just becomes an elaborate dance, which is choreographed and everybody knows the moves. And then in the middle game, when you get what they call out of book or out of theory, then that's when the real fighting starts, and one side does gain an advantage over the other, which is not immediately apparent at the time. But then in the late stages, there are massive great books about late stage chess theory when the number of pieces is reduced, and perhaps you've got a king, a knight, and a rook, and 4 pawns against a king, a bishop, and a rook and 4 pawns, and the people have analysed these endings, and there is advice on how to play these endings. So, there's a lot of memorisation by rote, and I think to become a grandmaster, you have to really dedicate your life to it. You have to do it full time. You have to, and also you have to have certain skills, which not everybody has. You have to be suited to be a chess grandmaster. One of the skills that you need is to be able to literally to look at a chessboard and memorize all the pieces on it. Just note the pattern and remember the pattern, and put the pieces on the board, and then be able to someone else take them off, and then you be able to put them all back on again exactly where they were. That's not many people have got that. And you'll notice with the grandmasters, what they do is they can do that, and that's why they can play blindfold, because they can imagine the chessboard in their heads. And also, when they're in the middle of a game, they'll be like 20 moves into a game, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember I got this position. I got this position against Nigel Shaw in 1973." So you're like, "Yeah, okay." I couldn't do that. So I've decided that I'm what they call a patzer. I like chess. I like watching chess. I'm playing chess. I'll play chess every Saturday, but not. But I'm never going to be a grandmaster, which is fine. I'm a grandmaster at dentistry. So swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Finishing up, we had a few people in who'd had some teeth extracted and some dentures out. Some new dentures made, and they're all needing relines now. So rather than use the lab for relines, we literally just do them on site. We do them using this. It's not methacrylate, is it? It's a 4-chain molecule. I forget what it's called. Tetracrylate or something. But it's not so. Doesn't produce so much heat when it sets. And when you get the hang of it, and it does take quite a long time to get the hang of it, but when you get the hang of it, it is really, really good. It allows you to do a reline to a higher standard, and just do it while the patient's in the chair. So, and I mean, a reline, you could say a reline should be equivalent to a new denture. I always say it's going to make it fit like a new denture, but I wouldn't say it turns it into a new denture. It's always a chairside reline is going to be a considerable improvement. It's going to close gaps at the front, perhaps where the incisor gum has shrunk and is unaesthetic, and it's going to improve fit, which is going to cut down immensely on the amount of glue required, etc., etc. Oh, that's a long old run. Look at that. Look, he's checking his watch. Good for him. Good for him. It's about 10 to 9. I don't know what the time is, but who's got time in their 40s or 50s to go out for a 5-mile run at between 9 and 10? I don't know. So, again, you see, I don't have the time or the inclination to put in that sort of effort. I mean, that's great. I presume I don't know. He's a person of independent means. So I was saying about this video diary, it's I've always said I do this really for me more than anyone, and my family, might be interested in years to come to hear grandfather blab on about, or great granddad blather on about this and that. But but probably not. So, but the question of whether or not to post them to YouTube is now coming up, and I'll tell you why it's coming up, because I'm coming up to my 500th video, and and I posted a video yesterday, and it's a completely run-of-the-mill video. It was one from November, for dates back to the time when I was using the mic and the mic wasn't charged up, so I got no sound on several of them, and so I left the whole batch to be processed at a later date. That one happened to have sound on it, but no car cam, dash cam. So, I mean, it worked as a record of what I said on the day, but I think I posted it yesterday, and I'll have to have a look and see if it's got any views. And yesterday evening, it didn't have any views, 0 views. And so now I'll check again today and see what it's got. I mean, it might have 3 views, 5 views. It won't have 50 views. It certainly won't have 70 or 120 views or anything, because it was just a bog standard, run-of-the-mill outpouring of consciousness that really doesn't interest anybody. And I understand that, and I quite appreciate that. The thing about the Crack the Cryptic guys is that they're speaking to perhaps 10,000 people are watching them do this puzzle. So, for them, I mean, personally, I find that quite boring. I mean, I really do, especially when they won't, this puzzle that they're doing, I think they're on their 27th 2-hour episode, and the fastest person who solved this puzzle has done it in about 8 minutes or 12 minutes. So they are, I don't know. I don't know whether they're sponsored. Sometimes these people are sponsored to play these games. There's another guy called Jingles, the Mighty Jingles, and he plays a ton of stuff and different games that goes into different aspects of it and plays through all the endings and plays every game to completion long after I would have just given up. And probably most people would have given up. And you have to wonder to what extent, someone with the number of followers which he's got, which I don't know. I think Jingles might be something like 680,000 or something. But, he's being sponsored. But it's not. It doesn't say every day, I'm sponsored to play World of Warships. I'm sponsored to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, or I'm sponsored to play The Last of Us. But does, and talks to, 680,000 subscribers. That's not how many views he gets, but that's more than 6 times the old capacity of Wembley Stadium. This guy is a rock star in YouTube terms. And even the Crack the Cryptic, they get, let's say, 12,000 people watching them do this puzzle. Now, I don't know if I was the publisher of Blueprints, I think to a certain extent, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because people are going to tune in to watch your sponsored stream. And then because they've got no intention or no desire really to go out and buy the game. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Supposing someone who was reviewing movies and they went on YouTube and decided to play the entire movie through and sort of comment on it at the time, then the movie studios would go ballistic. But if you've got a, cinematic game like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which I think is the most amazing, immersive, if you wanted to be go back to 15th century or 16th century Bohemia as a knight, or a knight's, as a knight, let's say, and go on all these quests, then it's amazing. It allows you to do it. The dialogue is fantastic. The acting is fantastic. The accents are really good. The action is good. It's got surprises, twists and turns. I think it's a real state of the art first person. It's not a shooter because there's limited guns in it, but first person fighter, much better than these run and gun type things, which are thousands of them now. But you can play like quite a boring puzzle game and get 10,000 people watching you, 12,000 people watching you. I've travelled hundreds of miles to speak at a hotel where, if we'd got 12 people, that would have been good for us. And sometimes we've spoken, let me tell you, to considerably fewer than 12 people. And so to have a hall with, we used to go down Leeds Castle, and when that was packed out, that was 100, 200 people perhaps, in the contract debates and stuff like that. That was a massive audience. Now, they're all that's very highly targeted. So, you could say, well, you're better off with a target, with a hall of 150 dentists than you are with 10,000 people just watching you because they like to see your drive to work, etc. But it's still worth turning up, isn't it? I mean, if you've got 100 people following what you're saying, that's a big hall worth of people, isn't it? And I presume they're mostly dentists. Most of the comments I get from the States, but or you know, for those videos for which I get say 20 views, are they mostly bots? Are they just, in this era of AI collation of information, are they just bots that are given the job of going through every single new YouTube video and just harvesting the text? I mean, I'd be quite happy to speak to 20 dentists. I wouldn't be happy to go through all the post-production palaver to speak to 20 bots. That is just ridiculous. So the question arises, if the figures remain low, and bearing in mind that, as I said, this is a diary, rather than a work of great literary merit, or maybe of merit to someone studying dental history. But and you have to be judged by the viewership numbers. I mean, the ratings. My ratings are. I mean, if I wasn't doing this by virtue of putting in the time, funding it by virtue of donating my time and things like microphones and paid versions of editing suites and stuff like that, then nobody else would sponsor it, No, nobody else would sponsor it. But then that's, as I say, that's not a problem. I don't really, someone who came along and offered me a load of money, then that would be great. But if they don't, then that's fine. I never really did it for that. And I've never really asked for that or wanted that. So I'll just mention that in passing. But I mean, if I want it just to be a video diary, I can just record it and then save it on my hard drive. I don't have to post it to YouTube to get a transcript. I only do that because it's, as I say, I thought on my old basis that if I can be helpful to one person on one day, once in their life, then that's me done. That's my raison d'etre. But I don't, I mean, I could say something like, well, if the viewer figures don't improve, then I'm not going to bother. But that'll be stupid because the viewer figures will not improve. So that just leaves the question of whether I want to bother. And I think the answer to that is I probably will bother to carry on doing the recordings, but I probably won't bother just posting them to YouTube. Now I mean, it's odd in a way because as things have got easier, you might say, well, not angry. You've just got everything sorted out. You've got your computer sorted out. You've got your editing sorted out. You've got your camera sorted out. You've got your microphone sorted out now. And then you decide to stop. I mean, what's that all about? And the answer is yes. I mean, I have got all that, but then these are all skills with a Z that I have now got. I have got the skill to do recorded interviews. I've got the skills to do write scripts. I've got the skills to do post-production editing on video. Not massive skills, you know, not Magnus Carlsen chess type skills, but just enjoying playing chess and able to do it to a reasonably good standard type skills. And that's great. I'll stick that under my belt. And sometimes if people say to me, oh, you know, I didn't know you could do that, X, Y, or Z, I shall say, yeah, and I can tie a balloon giraffe as well. Which is another skill. But, you know, again, not one I would say that I exercise on a daily basis. Oh dear. So this is your chance, really. This is your one and only chance. If you decide that, you know, perhaps if you're one or two of you listen regularly or have it on in the background while you're driving to work or I don't know, sitting there with your whitening guards in or whatever, then let me know. You know, give me some feedback. Let me know. Give me some guidance. I'm not going to expect 1,000 people to say, for God's sake, carry on, Derek. You know, we don't know what we would do without you. But I mean, you know, on the other hand, if there's absolutely nobody writes back and says, yeah, Derek, well, broadly agree that, you know, it's probably a lot of effort for you. Whereas you can keep the recordings anyway on the NAS, network attached storage. Or some people would, you know, might say, well, it's a shame if they were to stop. And I think it's a shame if they were to stop. But, you know, if I want to, I don't know, if I want to keep my skills for video editing, there are other videos I could edit that would, you know, fulfill that role without, and I think, I'm not saying that I've said everything that I could possibly say, because dentistry is such a diverse job. There are other areas. But if I was ever going to put it into a book of what they don't teach you at dental school, I think I've got enough material. Do you know, I think I've got enough material recorded already now. So. No need to, anything that I add to it now will be, you know, there's almost unlikely that any completely new situation or circumstance would come up. You know, apart from being struck off or taken to court by the Inland Revenue. In which case I might publish an addendum. record a few video logs from my cell. Anyway, I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee and cheer myself up in response to the fact that I've had a massive great needle stuck in my arm. I'll talk to you later. Bye.